Hi, welcome back. So I just realized the last 2-3 minutes of the video didn't have the audio, so I'm just gonna re-record that portion and finalize this section. So once you're happy with the look of your scene, it's time to actually do the final render. So far we've been doing the iterative rendering, and it's possible to save the final render in this window. The trouble is that Arnold will have some noise in your render, so we need to find a way to clear that off. And for that to happen, first of all, we have to render our single shot. We're not going to render an entire sequence because we're not doing animation or camera animation or anything like that. So now that we are happy with the overall look, it's time to actually render our camera. So first of all, we need to go to render settings, which can be found under this clapper button again. You can, with the cog, and there we need to scroll down under the common tab. We want to make sure our render cam is picked, and also our image size is set to HD 1080. The next thing we want to do is under our common tab, these are some button clicking, like some, I don't want to get into exact details of this because I want to, as I said, keep it a beginner level initially. If your renderer the final image has got noise, for example, when you test it in your render view and you're about to actually finalize your entire project and you're about to render it, to be able to denoise, to remove that noise from your shot, it's important that you tick this option, which is called merge AOVs. And then under our AOVs, we want to make sure the Arnold denoisers output denoising AOVs is ticked as well. Now I am using my CPU, I'm not using GPU. I know that Arnold has got GPU renderer as well, but all my setup so far has been towards CPU, so I'm using my CPU for rendering. Once this is all done, we are happy. You pick the right camera. You want to go to rendering module, render sequence option box. What Arnold, or what Maya is asking you now, again just double checking which camera do you want to render and where do you want to save that image. I created a folder called renders under the images folder of my project folder, which can be found here. So I've got the rest of the stuff that I've been doing, but I've created a dedicated folder called render folder. I've already rendered the scene. So once this is done, if you click on render sequence, Arnold will open up Maya's own native render view, and you will see some weird stuff happening in here, maybe some overexposed colors and so on and so forth. Ignore that. That's just Arnold trying to talk to Maya, and the output is not so good. But the idea is, once this entire frame is filled, it's done, you will also get a feedback in your script editor on the bottom right hand corner suggesting that your render is finished. Depending on the complexity of the project, sometimes a shot can take 5 minutes, and as you know, you must have heard a lot of stories from the industry. Some shots take 45 minutes, especially if you've got fur, fluid, for example, and complex shaders and so on and so forth. It also depends on your computer's performance. So if you've got a slow computer and not powerful enough, it might take 10 minutes, so just be aware of that. I think in my case, this shot I'm just going to stop it because I've already rendered it. We're going to wait for this otherwise. I'm just going to press the escape key, trying to stop this. Yeah. And I'll check my script editor and check the previous information. Yeah, it doesn't give me much. I think I've closed it, but at the bottom it does tell you how long it took to render. I think mine took roughly 6 minutes. So once this is finished, you will get some form of a feedback suggesting that the render is finished, and this is the end result. So you will get an EXR file, which is a file format that was developed by ILM. It's a very powerful file format. It contains a lot of data, and if I double click, it opens itself in Photoshop. You don't see Photoshop because it's on the other monitor. Let me just bring it here. That's it. So if I double click, and it says, you know, how do you want to read this with alpha transparent and so as an alpha channel or as a transparent image. I'll just pick it as alpha channel for now. Yeah, I made a mistake. I've overridden on this one for some bizarre reason. I should have carried on. I might just pause it and come back to it. So yeah, it took 9 minutes to render. I had to re-render it, and this is our final render. So if I double click in Photoshop as an alpha channel, and this is what we get. Now as you can see, the actual render has got some noise. You can see around here, for example, because we saved this as an EXR file with the option of denoising. What we can do, we can go back to Maya. This is the good thing about Arnold. You can do a post denoising. So if you go to Arnold, utilities, Arnold denoiser noise, and what is it is asking you to define the input, in other words the rendered image. So it's this one, and then what it does, it saves a copy of the same image with an extension with a suffix called denoised. And for now we're just going to leave the default values as they are and click-denoise. So what it does, it almost this has nothing to do with rendering. It's no longer to do with Maya. It sweeps the noise off. Too much of it will be almost like photo retouching, what photographers do, you know, when they do photo manipulation of those magazine covers, you know, models and what have you. Too much of it will be like that. So it will be you will end up with something that is too far off from the original render. But you know, it's good to test it on a based on the default values. You can test it based on those defaults and see how it looks. So I think it's done. Let me just check. What I'll do, I'll just pause it in here and come back to it. So yes, it's done. So let me just click on it. So as you can see, the denoised version has got a denoised suffix, and now we're going to compare it. So if I just focus on this area, I'm just going to separate the windows so we can see one with noise and the other one without. And I'll use this area as a reference. As you can see, there is a distinct difference. This is zoomed in version, so I just go, if I go to 100 for both of them, you can see this has got noise, this doesn't have noise. And we've got some good stuff around here through the glass. It's quite nice. Well, I'm happy with it. So yeah, so that's how this is the one that you would kind of publish. But if you want to do compositing in Photoshop and things like that, well, you can work on both of them, and but it's impossible to manually remove noise in Photoshop, so it's better to denoise it in Arnold. I'll just open this up. So yeah, I think, yeah, this is it. This is our image, so you can save this image. Now, in my case, I didn't have a wall or something in the background, so deliberately I rendered with HDRI. When we talk about other subjects, another making of video perhaps, I'll mention, I'll show you how to use the HDRI image just as a source for the lighting, and not make it visible in a render weave. So but now we're just going to live with that, because I don't have a context in the background. Not a, it could have been a shelf or something in a shop perhaps, I don't know, because I wanted to focus on this area. So anyway, yeah, so thank you for listening, and I hope to see you in the next sessions. So thank you.